The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to those expressing them and do not necessarily reflect the OSIP Foundation Incorporated or any other group or individual. This podcast may contain dialogue or subject material that could be considered for mature audiences only. All aspects of how you play the game and the OSIP Foundation Incorporated are protected by copyright and other state and federal intellectual property laws. Unauthorized use without the express written consent of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated is strictly prohibited. If you're interested in sponsoring How You Play the Game, please email us at podcast@osipfoundation.org. Your sponsorship may be tax deductible. Well, there are two things that are certain in life. One is you're probably not going to be getting a salad when you're eating fried rice. And the other is that it's time for How You Play the Game, the official podcast of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated. Yours truly, Jack Furlong, with you as we talked about what's going on as far as the world of sportsmanship is concerned. This is the second episode of the month of February. The year is 2026. As always, check us out online at osipfoundation.org. Use the email address podcast@osipfoundation.org to contact the show. On the socials at facebook.com/osipfoundation, X and Instagram at OSIP Foundation. Hashtag How You Play the Game. I got to inhale now. Apparently air is a necessary thing to live. I'm learning this now. And without further ado, because I just can't hold the surprise back, it's time for our annual visit with one person that I consider probably to be the most beautiful man in umpiring, regardless of what the scorecard says of his ball strike ratio. And I'm not just saying that to convince him, that we got to hang out more often, but I am saying that to convince him we got to hang out more often. He's number 98 on his sleeve and number 1 in our hearts, Mr. Chris Conroy. Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm great, Jack. Flattery will get you everywhere. How are you?
I'm great now that I got the flattery going, so this is just, everything's just moving in the right direction for me. So, oh man. So let's.
I'm glad I have my waders on right now. You can't see them.
Okay.
As I sort of walk through all this, that you just laid out there.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm just glad that you invested in those waders. Really.
Well, I whenever February comes around and I get my annual dose of the Jack Furlong podcast, I know might be time to take a trip to Dick's and the old stream section.
With your connections, I'm surprised that Wilson or Plus Boss or Honig's isn't sending you a complimentary pair.
Fair point.
I've got. We all know the connections. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna walk into All Sports Officials one day and just be like, oh, you've got waiters now. Okay, that makes complete sense. Okay, because it gets very flooded here in the greater Pennsylvania area. Okay.
Oh yes, yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Very indeed, especially when all the snow melts.
Oh my God! Yeah, we're screwed. If you need an arc, I know a guy. So I'll see myself out. Yeah. Hey, did you hear about the limbo champion who walked into a bar?
I did not.
He lost. There's a slow, steady, just stop, like hard emergency brake being pulled right now on the podcast. So, oh man,
it's all downhill from here.
Listen, as you are going to say, day one that you walk out on that field in Port St. Lucie, this
is the best you're going to feel all year.
Yep. Sorry, Speaking of the best you're going to feel all year, how are you feeling after a season and whatnot? What's going on in your physical world?
Thanks for asking. I feel, knock wood, pretty good right now. Certainly end of the year, there are aches and pains and bumps and bruises like every other year, but nothing, little off-season R&R and some work, put the car in the shop, so to speak, and get a tune-up and, get ready to break it all down again here in another month or so.
That's the life.
All in all, not knock wood. I feel pretty good. So
I'm almost afraid to ask then what the equivalent of the spark plugs are in that analogy, because I know the oil change is like a cortisone shot. But
it's all ball bearings nowadays, Jack.
If that's not the title of your next book, it's all ball bearings. Listen, I don't know if you heard the joke, and I'm sure this is a great way to start the episode. But I interviewed Dale Scott a couple of weeks ago about his book. Did you hear the joke that he told about what the working title of the book was?
I don't think I did. No.
All right. Well, brace yourself, because the working title of his book was "I Blew the Call and the Catcher Too."
Now that you say that, it does jog my memory.
Does it? Okay. So
I may have heard that somewhere.
Do you have bourbon just sitting under the desk right now for these jokes?
No, unfortunately, it's out of arm's reach at the moment.
What are we doing in your house?
Unless you'll permit me like a quick break to go and pour myself one. Like
I love how
you're
Japan asking me for the equivalent of a bathroom break to go get a drink. How do we get anything done? It's amazing that we're not like running a corporation together, because we would get nothing done. So,
I know, it's hard to believe nobody has entrusted us with something like that.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So listen, they entrust us with balls and strikes, and I think that's about enough. So
yeah, right. You know, if they only knew. Yeah.
Oh man. So you were talking about your body feeling good and everything. Yep. Like I was looking at the breakdown. You worked the division series between the Brewers and the Cubs. You had Game 5, had a great game. What was that like, knowing that you were telling me about the bumps and bruises? You're a couple of years away from the back injury and whatnot. Yep. Like, did that feel like the appropriate closing to the season and all that stuff combined? Considering.
Yeah, it definitely did. As far as first of all, I was thrilled to get the assignment. Obviously, honored to be, put on the Game 5, kind of the winner go home game. I know that's not an assignment that's put out there by the office lightly, but yeah, I mean, as far as from obviously like a physical standpoint approaching that game, postseason baseball, I don't care sort of maybe how banged up you are over the course of the regular season. When you get to October and you walk on that field and 50,000 people are on their feet for 9 straight innings, we get adrenaline as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of those little bumps and bruises and aches and pains that you feel in June and July, those kind of fade away when you hit the top step in October and walk on the field. So from a physical standpoint, felt very good. And then, obviously, like from a mental standpoint, it was, I felt very good as well. Like I remember really all the details kind of the day leading up to the game. And I really just went about keeping it like a normal day, like a normal plate day. I kind of got up at a normal time. I did my thing, got my breakfast, went for a little walk, obviously check in at home, get a workout in, a little nap, and then time to go. And I just kept telling myself, I was like, you've done these games before.
Yeah.
Like lucky enough to have, a bunch of postseason plate jobs under my belt. I worked a Game 3 in the wild card round plate job back in 22 between the Padres and the Mets. So I could even fall back on that to know, like, okay, you've already, not only have you worked, postseason plate jobs, but you worked a winner go home game by the plate before, So I just kept telling myself, like, hey man, you've been there, you've been there, just so even, I felt like a real, I felt the normal butterflies, if you will, which I think anybody, if they're being honest, will admit that regardless of the time of year or the plate job, you always have some butterflies going, no matter what, whether it's, April, someplace, or October. But I didn't feel like they were, out of control, as the saying goes. I had them flying in formation.
I love that. Yep. How many people in the mental health profession I've been telling that to, that they just love that. So yeah,
it's a great expression.
It really is.
I try to, that it's okay. Like nerves are okay. Like it's not unhealthy. It's not, oh my God, the sky is falling. It's a very normal, natural, healthy thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, I felt very good about going into the game. And then kind of once it started, I felt, good about what I was doing. They were playing the game, not really into what I was doing, which, I always take as a good sign.
Yep.
And it just, I think, and actually we ended up having the fastest game of the whole series. I think it was like somewhere in a 2.5-ish game.
Oh yeah. You were in and out. I remember
we were moving along pretty good. So it was a great environment. I love working in October. It's a whole different animal from the rest of the season, but that's what makes it special and unique.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember asking you about this too. I can't believe that I didn't think of this before. You have the camera on the mask for the ump cam,
Yes,
and that doesn't bother you at all, does it?
You know what? It doesn't. And ironically, I was sort of one of the guys involved from our union side when I was serving on the board of getting this mask cam kind of like through the testing phases with the office, and then eventually rolling it out onto the field, and trying to get buy-in from our guys, which obviously some are going to be more receptive to that than others because, as you know, and as we all know, like you walk on the field, especially working the plate, like your equipment is a very sacred thing. It takes a long time to kind of get things right where you like them, so you're not thinking about anything, and then all of a sudden here comes this brand new thing, and typically it's coming because you're working a game of sort of high importance. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like in an extra big game, you're going to put something extra brand new on me.
Just the way we planned it, right?
But truthfully, I tell people, like, when it's actually on my head, I don't even realize it's there. It's very light. It's maybe, honestly, it's not even a pound. And the weight's distributed pretty well from the camera in front to the battery in your harness on the back of your head. And then the only clunky thing, which there's no way around it, is when you remove the mask, because the battery's attached to the harness, it makes it, if you don't like cinch the harness when you're going somewhere, like obviously the battery's going to start flopping around because it's obviously heavier than the harness. So that's the one part that's a little awkward, but I wore it like a handful of times over the course of the year. So it got to be where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to leave this thing on as long as possible and like give them what they want.
Yeah, that's like, a great idea. Yeah.
Like a home run off the bat, like instead of coming up and quick off with the mask, it's like, hey, you know what, I'm going to leave it on and just follow the ball.
Yep. There you go. You're taking a page out of the Onora handbook.
Yeah. We're trying to get, we're trying to give the people what they want.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If you can just keep that on the entire time without when you have to announce a challenge of the ABS system, you'll be right in the following that to a T. So
completely.
I'll never forget when I saw that last year. I was at a Twins Yankees spring training game in Fort Myers, and Brian had the plate, and they're testing the ABS, and I see it, and it's like it's almost like he's not even acknowledging. You can just hear like a mumbled voice coming over, like catcher challenge, and I'm like, what did I miss?
Yeah. It's interesting because you see like the highlights from, like, say the Arizona Fall League where all the AAA guys are working, and they're obviously doing it like right by the book. They turn around, the mask is off, like, ramrod straight.
Yep.
The pitcher is challenging the call of ball, and it's like all very, where, we'll like with everything, we'll get to where, we have our own, little style with it, but get the point across. See if we can come up with our version of like Billy Kennedy in the NBA with his replay decisions.
Exactly. It's funny you mentioned that. I went out to see the Fall Stars game for the Fall League, and Felix Neon had the plate for that. Nailed it. I think there was actually someone must have miscounted, because there were a total of 7 challenges, and he went 7 for 7. Right. I was like, you're only supposed, if you lose the challenge, you're not supposed to have another one. And I'm like, you went 6 for 6. Why is there a 7th one here? And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, that is, it's almost like you want to stand up and cry with pride. Like we're doing a pretty good job here.
It's interesting too. Like during a couple years ago when I was rehabbing for my back injury, I worked a few weeks in AAA before returning to the big leagues. Right. And so obviously, my play jobs would not operate with the ABS system. But when I would work the bases, obviously it would go back into existence. Back then they were still doing like the split weeks. It was like, I think like the first half of the week was straight ABS. Second half of the week was the challenge system.
Okay.
And I just, I remember thinking and asking the guys, who on the field in the challenges like you just described were very successful. Like you're out there with a guy and he's like 5 for 5 in challenges,
Yeah.
or whatever, and then like the next day it'd be like, well, how many, like, how did you, like, what was your overall score? And it's like,
Right.
well, I missed like 12 pitches, and
Wow.
it's like, which it was interesting for me to think that there's some level of like, there may be quote unquote misses that aren't challenged because
Right.
maybe like it's like you're talking to maybe so close and the moment might not be, a pitch that the guy thinks is maybe a quarter inch off the plate for strike one in the first inning is probably not where you want to fire one off.
Yep, you're right.
But yet, if you're just going by the machine, it's technically a miss.
Right.
So I found it interesting that sometimes like the success rate of the actual challenge on the field didn't always correlate like we would think to like a high score.
Yeah.
Because they're potentially not challenging pitches that were technically even incorrect. It was just kind of a fascinating dynamic for me to see.
To me, that reeks of the idea that when replay was introduced at first, I think it was Joe Torre who was saying like this is intended to fix the obvious miss.
Sure.
And I feel like that's the case here. Is that when you open Pandora's box, you recognize that there's going to be something here where that slight pull of the foot off the base that
the unintended consequences. Right?
Exactly. But at the same time, it's like, look, you got to see the forest for the trees and say this is more about making sure that we don't have an egregious call that's going to be talked about for ages.
Sure.
That pitch, that pitch is a quarter of an inch off, and by the book it's a miss. The human element says no, it's not.
Right. Right.
So
no,
I feel
know. And I think as time, my counter to that is that I just think over time with the advance of technology and the expansion of technology and its improvement, and obviously like the box over home plate and all that stuff, like you really don't ever hear like it's either in the zone or it's not.
Right. Like
that's really like you don't get much. I rarely hear anymore, the old adage like too close to take.
Right.
Like that's kind of like phrasing that isn't really in the game anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, look, if the hitter took it and the circle is hollow, which means it didn't register as a strike and I strike it, everybody just thinks I missed it.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether it's a tenth of an inch, a half an inch, 2 inches or more.
Yeah.
Like kind of like all, right now it just, we're kind of in that stage where like all misses are of equal,
right.
level of a mistake, so it's just, that's just is what it is, not going anywhere.
I've always felt like, and I recognize that the greater public probably would not buy into this the way that I would, but there's an element of, if a television broadcast had, if we had more guys who were explaining things from the umpire's perspective, to me that would have the value of saying, if a retired umpire or just someone on the broadcast saying like, I'm not going to argue with you that it was technically a miss. What I'm going to try and explain to you for color commentary is why he may have missed it, because when you look at where the mid is moving or this, that, like to me that is that holds a lot of water to me, in the same way that you get color commentary from any other analyst.
Right. There are many, for us, this will sound crazy to somebody, this may sound crazy to somebody out there, but like as a home plate umpire, like there are many variables that go into whether I call it a ball or a strike,
right? Beyond
just whether it satisfied just the criteria of what's in the rule book.
Correct. I know, right? Yep.
It's, there is, honestly, there's, it's sometimes you don't, different stadiums or places we work, like backgrounds are different. Maybe you don't see the ball as well. Maybe catcher isn't particularly strong with the glove.
I was going to say,
makes makes what you think might be a good pitch just look bad. And, it's just kind of like, it just makes you have a hard time saying, I'm going to pull the trigger on calling this a strike when you did everything in your power to not make it look like a strike.
Right. It's the old, if he's setting up inside and he's got to reach all the way across.
Yes.
The box on the screen might say that's a strike, but you're saying, no, that's a ball. Look how far you had to go for that.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, the game has changed a lot. Like even just from my time early on, coming up through the minor leagues and early in the big leagues, it was like if, a catcher buried way inside and had to really go across the plate. I mean, sure, maybe it technically was a strike. Yeah. But you called it a ball and nobody really even questioned it.
Right.
Like they do. Catcher knew, like he wasn't like, oh man, geez, Chris, I thought that was there. It's like, they had to reach so far. This is a ball, But, now it's changing. Like that same scenario will unfold and catchers are like going out there, like, and sticking it and presenting it. And then you ball it and they're kind of like, wow, hey, where you got that?
Yeah.
Like everything's changing.
Yeah. Yeah. So not that I should ever imply this, but if you were to ever keep a flask in the ball bag when knowing all that kind of stuff, it's just like, I get it, don't do that. Don't anybody ever do that. But I'm just saying, along the same lines, are you looking forward to having the ABS system this year, the challenge system, or what? I mean, knowing what you've experienced with that in spring training and whatnot, like what do you think is your take? What do you think is the union's take on it? Like, how do you guys approach that?
Ultimately, I think a few things happen. I think before, and this even goes back, I think last year prior to spring training when we were gearing up for the experimental stage.
Right.
I think it's as umpires, it's our natural inclination to be very skeptical of new things.
Okay.
And and think of the, like we talked about with replay, the unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And also to think about like, if look, we've all had nights where we're not very good. Let's just everybody out there on that field, player, coach, umpire has nights where we're human beings. You're not you're not very good. And there's obviously other nights where, I could, like I said, I think I've said with you before, there's nights I go out there and I can tell you whether it's that far off home plate and be 1,000% sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's nights where the ball looks like an aspirin coming in, and I just like right down the middle. We have those nights.
You just pray.
So I think what we've been thinking more of, and I know for me is like how I'm going to sort of deal with the mental aspects of that. Because I know how we all feel. Like a part of us feels kind of, there's like, when you get flipped on a play on the bases, like you sort of have that little like, call it like the imposter syndrome feeling, where like, you look up on the board, and the play obviously unfolds in a way that you didn't see because you called it, you kind of like, oh my God, how did I not see that?
Yeah.
And then it's like you get overturned and then you're jogging back to your position and they got you up on the big board, jogging back to your position. And you're feeling like, oh my God, everybody's looking at me like, how the heck they let this guy out here? Right. But as time's gone on with replay, you realize like everybody just is like on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like it's us that gets torn up inside because we have so much pride that you never want to get overturned.
Of course.
But in reality, I think the mindset of the the people in the dugouts, they're just like, announcements made. All right. Like, boom, on to the next thing, And so I think it's going to take some work, some harder work to apply that same mentality with balls and strikes from a standpoint of just because there's so many of them.
Right.
Like if you get overturned twice at first base, you're feeling like, oh my God, like this is, you know what I mean? And there's 150 pitches I got to call.
Oh yeah.
So like I joke with some people, I'm like, look, I've missed the first pitch of the game lots of times in my career. And, missing the first pitch of the game when there's a challenge system for balls and strikes versus missing a banger play at first base are vastly different because, behind the plate, there's probably 100, there's another one coming in 12 seconds.
Yeah. Yep.
And, honestly, the rest of the night, I may not ever have a close play at first base.
Right.
Or, I get it right. So I'm not going to the headset a second time, but just from a volume standpoint, there's so many pitches involved that you're calling and making decisions on. And, we all know those nights where it just feels like everything's on an edge.
Oh yeah.
It's just, you walk in afterwards and I joke with the guys like, well, fellas, that could be an 80% accuracy or that could be 100. I don't know, because it felt like absolutely nothing was just right over the plate. It was just, edge outside, edge inside, edge at the top, edge at the bottom. And, you just, then sometimes you open the score the next day and you're like, holy cow, just did better than you thought. Or, sometimes you're like, yeah, it was as bad as I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's going to be, I think it just will be a little bit of a mental challenge for maybe the nights where, some days you're the windshield, some days you're the bug, and
is that a chapter in the book?
What's that?
Is that a chapter in the book? Some days you're the windshield, some days you're the bug.
It's hammer or the nail, windshield or the bug. I'm workshopping it right now.
That's fair. There's a corporate sponsorship from Safelite, right? Waiting for you right now. Yeah.
Or Home Depot or Lowe's.
Same thing. Any of them really.
We'll see who comes in with the most money.
That's a chapter in the book right there. Okay.
But in all seriousness, I think I can see that, obviously for me, and I think for speaking for the larger staff, I think that's going to be the challenge, is just to hey, you get flipped, you got to flush it and get back there because another one's coming, and they're going to keep coming.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's interesting too, because there's a part of me that when I knowing my experience on the field and then projecting that to the big league field with the replay and whatnot. There's a part of me that feels like any sort of replay can be viewed as that safety net that almost gives me the calm confidence to say, God, I know I want to get this right. I know I have the pride where I have to get this right, or I demand the perfection to get this right. But to know that there's a mechanism to help me to ensure that the call gets right in the event that I do miss something. There's a small element of that makes me feel like more confident going into it, almost like the butterflies want to go right into formation as a result of that, I almost wonder if that's something that, where that weighs on the scale, because I think everything that you just said is, it's incredibly true. I think you nailed it with that. And I'm just trying to figure out how one might balance that, especially considering your experience versus, someone like my experience. We have two completely different paths.
Yeah. I think in speaking to that, going back to replay on the bases, you're right. I feel like, the nights where, let's say somebody fires off a challenge on a steal play in the second inning,
right,
and it's not overturned. When you're working first base, all of a sudden, because now they're out of challenges.
Yeah,
and we can't. And there's a time in the game, starting in the eighth inning, when we can do crew chief reviews.
Right,
when teams are out. But now, like I just described, from that second inning till we get to the eighth, they're out.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there's lots of times I've been down there at first base and a team has exhausted its challenges in the first or second inning, and I'm standing there going, man, we're going old school here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What they're years ago before, I forget what year, but replay was in. We were in Anaheim. I was working first. Socha was still managing the Angels.
Okay.
He challenges a steal play at second, just like I described early, second inning, doesn't get it flipped, so now he's out.
Yep.
So then a couple innings later, prior to the point of a crew chief using a crew chief review,
right,
I missed a play at first base by a full step. I called one of his guys out. He was safe, bigger than safe.
Okay.
And I remember, obviously, I'm on the first, I'm walking back to my position on the first base line. His runners got one of those hands on his head, I can't believe it.
Right.
And the Angels dugout was on the third base side. So I turn around and I look across and I see Socha coming out of the dugout towards me. And I'm like, first thought in my mind was, what the heck is he doing?
Yeah.
And then like about 2 seconds later, it hit me. I'm like, they're out of challenges.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now he's coming to argue, like old school.
Right.
And I ended up ejecting him. But it was just funny. Like right away, I was just like, nobody comes out and argues anymore. Like, there's replay. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, they're out of challenges.
Yeah.
And then he's coming at me, and we go back and forth, and I run him. But it was just, kind of speaks to that like safety net kind of thing, like where. Especially like sometimes when you're in the replay center working, you're looking, because obviously you're receiving these plays in there, and sometimes teams fire them off early, and you look at them and you're like, what a terrible challenge. Like, why did they,
the strategy,
why, like that early in the game, like this is an absolute, like I've been in there where you send back a confirmed in the second inning. Yeah. And it's like confirmed in the second. Right. Like that's not a very good challenge. No. Obviously as the game progresses, then maybe you get a little more aggressive because you're coming up at the time where you're going to get a free look the rest of the day. Right. But early, it's like, again, it's most time the teams are very good about it, but every now and again you get one, they fire one off and you're like, man, that was not a very good challenge. Because then you're right. You're out there, like all of a sudden you're like, man, somebody just yanked the safety net out from underneath us. Yeah. So
and it's almost like, you like, on one hand, I can feel like in that a moment like that, the argument back to someone like in Socha's position would be like, you brought this on yourself. You fired off the challenge when you probably should not have. Yeah. And
I was younger in my career. I didn't have a line like that on the tip of my tongue.
See, you got to hire me. As I get
more gray hair, maybe I might have it. I don't know.
And I literally earlier today was just looking at the Just for Men shampoos now to get rid of some of my gray. So this is
Jack, it's
okay.
Little gray kid.
No, I know. Believe me, I have to check my blood. I'm 42.
And just a babe.
I'm already checking my blood pressure every morning. All right, so I'm don't do
that. It's like the stock market. Don't do that. You can't do it every day.
It's too late. I check the stocks every morning. I check the blood pressure every morning, and at that point, I'm like, well, I might as well just go to confession.
Yes, Father. Can I have the anointing oils, please?
Listen, I make the anointing oils. Okay. I have a separate kitchen just to do that. Yes. Oh man. Okay.
Can I tell a funny story about that?
Please do.
Real quick.
Yes.
So I was born in July of '74.
Okay.
Every year we took a family vacation to Cape Cod in August.
Okay.
So we go. Obviously, I'm born July '74. We go in August of '74, but I hadn't been baptized yet.
Okay.
So Catholic family.
Yep.
Family very involved in the church. Small community. Small church. Family was involved big time in every way conceivable.
Mm-hmm.
But my mother, I found out, traveled with, because I get to be baptized. Like if there was some kind of horrific accident, she actually was traveling with anointing oils.
Oh my God.
So that she was, so that I could pass through the gates properly.
You don't know how hard that hits for me as someone who is also Catholic and went to Catholic seminary. Okay. I'm literally like over here. Like I've been thinking like, this would be a good marketing opportunity for me, just say, like, do you need a quick baptism? Like some people are offering like quick plows of snow and whatnot, maybe what I should do is I usually only wear the one ball bag.
DoorDash, the last rites.
DoorDash. Hold on, that's the title right there.
Everything else, right? Yeah. I mean, like why not?
DoorDash Last Rites.
You're writing it down.
I'm writing that one down. That is beautiful. I was going to say I was going to keep the anointing oils and everything in the second ball bag so that in the middle of high school arguments I can use that. But wow. Oh man! We got it.
I'll expect a cut if you actually make this happen,
dude. We've got
either on the ground floor.
How are we not like just in a conference room somewhere, just coming up with great ideas?
I'm not sure. I think we should. I mean, I'm going back
we're
watching
doing
Curb Your Enthusiasm. We could be like Larry David with his little book of ideas,
yep.
like.
No, this yeah. And I got a buddy who is the the literal embodiment of Larry David / George Costanza. So we'll make this work.
It'd be a good time.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. Well, now that I've completely lost my train of thought,
we segued there a little bit.
No, we did. What do you have any? I mean, knowing what your experience with with being on the negotiating side of things and whatnot, do you have any intelligence into? I think they're testing now the check swing challenge system a little bit.
Right,
Anything on that you can share?
I actually I don't have much other than I've seen it. I've seen some of the the videos and the examples. It wasn't anything that ever really came up in negotiating other than they have the right to continue to kind of workshop it and test it, and if they get it to a point of they'd like to maybe roll it out, then I think similar to the ABS stuff, then the minor leagues would probably be their first, their next step, and see how it unfurls there. But nothing, certainly nothing from like a technical side of like, okay, what does and doesn't constitute a swing.
Right.
I mean, we never got anywhere down the road with that whatsoever. So like I said, I've seen some videos of it. Looks interesting.
Yeah.
But we'll cross that bridge when it comes. If it comes, yeah.
It's one of my favorite things when I do clinics to break the news to people, like what the rule is on a check swing, and I say there's really nothing in the book. It just says, did the batter attempt to strike at the pitch? So anytime you want to talk about
judgment, that's it.
Exactly. Anytime you want to talk about breaking the plane, yeah, exactly. Listen. We've come up with DoorDash last rites. You think our judgment's pretty good? Like I think you can trust us. Okay. So, oh man. So let's talk about the past season you had and the crew that you had. Talk to me about the crew, the guys on your crew. I mean, you rave about them when I talk to you about them and whatnot. And I want to know like what you saw in the growth of these guys and whatnot.
Man, I mean, nobody deserved to be that fortunate to have that kind of crew. John Tumpane, Jeremy Rahak, Brennan Miller. Being completely fully biased, I really believe I had the best crew in the league.
That's great.
And hands down, I was by miles the worst umpire on that crew.
Wow.
And I have, there's no shame at all for me to admit that.
Right.
They were exceptional. It was a crew that was you would consider it a little younger.
Right.
I think both in terms of age and experience wise, me on the top line as a crew chief, last year's season, I had, 13 and a half years of service under my belt. Tump was a couple years behind that, like 10 or 11. Jeremy's 7-ish. And then Brennan, like 4 years.
Right.
And then everybody's kind of age range. I'm 51, Tump's early 40s, Jeremy's late 30s, Brennan's early 30s.
Yeah.
So, it was, but phenomenal umpires.
Yeah.
All of them. In every way you would want to be a phenomenal umpire. Like, the accuracy, unbelievable. Technical aspects, unbelievable. Feel for the game, unbelievable. Like managing people, managing personalities, second to none.
Yeah.
And then as I've said to them and to everybody else who will listen, as good as they were on the field, they're better people off it. And so it was just a fantastic experience. We had we had a great time. I loved showing up at the ballpark every day with those guys. It was, I think we garnered some respect from the on-field personnel. We had some pretty significant series that we worked over the course of the year. I thought we handled all of it well. I just really proud of them. Proud to have, worked with them, been their crew chief. However, whatever job people I thought, if they thought I did it well, it's because of those guys, because
Nice.
they were exceptional people to be around and to walk on the field with.
That's so nice to hear. I think the big question that everyone wants to know is it true that you can travel back in time if you run your hands through John Tumpaine's hair?
Well, it doesn't move.
Which is why you moved through
I still
time.
don't understand how he pulls that off. I mean, there's a handful of guys out there that, especially like when they work the plate and they take their, like Derek Thomas is another guy that comes to mind. Like when they take the helmet off,
Yeah.
I'm like, his hair doesn't move. Like I'm a guy like when I come in after a plate job, like I look at myself in the mirror and like my hair is all over the map.
Yep.
And I'm like, how do you guys do that? Like it was, I mean, but people, speaking of Tom, like he's a beauty. Like people, like, I mean, they, like he gets, we get to the home plate for the plate meeting and he's got the plate. There's guys yelling from the dugout, like doing this with their hair. And they're, like they're doing, they're giving him the big, he's got the big mechanics, like they're the strength, the ripper and all that stuff. And like they, like I laugh, like sometimes I'm working third base and like Tump will ring somebody up and he's got like he's got the sort of like the stabbing motion.
Yep.
And then I look over towards the first base dugout, a bunch of the guys at the far end, they're all down there like, he's a, they love him.
That's great. I wish that we would have that more on broadcasts too, because I feel like that would just be so much fun to watch guys do that and just laugh in real time with you.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like there's some, I don't know who it is, like the somebody's I want to say like maybe it's like the pitching ninja or somebody on.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Rob Friedman or
I think
I don't know if that's the same guy or what, but like like whenever like feels like whenever Tump's got the plate, like the next day there'll be like some videos and like he'll give the motion and then he'll put like make like a stabbing sound and then blood
coming out,
squirting out onto the screen.
Never to live again. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the announcers are into it. They'll be like, "Oh, the Ripper puts them down," like, or it's just
so good.
I'm just pretty vanilla back there. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. No, I get that too. Like, I don't think I could ever. Like, I think about that sometimes. Like, do I ever have the ability to change my mechanics or anything like that? And I just I don't think I can do it. Like, I'm so vanilla in the same way.
But like it speaks to like, we start with a sort of joking way, but like it speaks to just everybody's got to work in a way that they're comfortable with.
Yes. Yep.
Because then that's going to allow them to be their best. Like if I tried to work like Tom, I probably wouldn't have any success.
Right.
And if he tried to, dial it back a little bit and make it a little more just kind of like what I do, probably wouldn't work for him either. Like true. It's whatever. Like, and it takes time to find that. Like, that sort of like that spot in your career where you're like, you know what, this is what I do, and this is what works for me, and like you stop caring what other people think. Yeah, it's just like because getting it right is the most important thing.
Amen.
Obviously you want to look good doing it, but like looking good means different things. Yeah, like I think what Tump does looks great on him.
Oh yeah,
I think what I do looks good on me. I think what Jeremy does looks good on him, and Brennan the same way, but everybody's got their own kind of thing that's unique to them, but it works, So
it's funny because I feel like I the only mechanic I think I ever really changed other than just like learning the ropes and whatnot. I changed my strike three mechanic once in the middle of my career, and then other than that, it's been exactly the same because just for that reason. And so I think you really speak the truth with that, which brings me to an umpire question that I've been thinking about. Is there anything behind, like I see this a lot in both cats that I work with, and I've seen this, I think, also in the big leagues as well. The difference between the vocalization of strikes 1 and 2 versus strike 3 now. I see a lot more of the calmer vocalization of strike 3 versus the yelling of the strike, in 1 or 2. Can you attribute that to anything?
I don't know what to attribute that to, but I hear what you're saying, and I've noticed that as well. Like, I think, like even, just to my crew, like I think Jeremy's a guy that was kind of a quiet, because he had like he had a different strike three, whether it was like a right-handed hitter or a left-handed hitter.
Uh-huh.
But like he would, and I think the left-handed one, like there were times where like ball comes in, catcher catches it, and Jeremy's like just kind of standing up, and the hitter's like starting to walk across the plate, like he knows he's gotten the news.
Yep.
But Jeremy still hasn't really even gotten to his actual like mechanic yet.
Right.
But every now and again, like if you watch something and you pick, because there's microphones everywhere, you might pick up it sounds like he's just going strike three.
Yep.
And just so like really the only ones they're going to hear are the catcher and the hitter.
Yep.
But like I told you, like the hitter's like walking off like they know the answer.
Yep.
But he hasn't given it to the crowd yet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hasn't done the mechanic, but there are definitely guys that are just kind of like strike three.
Yeah.
And they don't like come out of their shoes. They don't, scream and yell. It's just a very like, matter of fact kind of thing. I don't go crazy with it. I give maybe a little more voice on a strike three, but not a ton. I remember years ago, sort of Gary Darling was my first crew chief in the big leagues when I got hired. And I always remember his line, and he goes, it's not an event, it's just a strike.
Right. That's a great line.
He's like, it's just like it's not an event, it's just a ball or a strike.
Yeah.
And which is funny. I just saw Gary 2 weeks ago out in Arizona. We had our staff retreat and saw him for like the umps care golf tournament. And I had that conversation with him. I said, I've never forgotten, the line you said about it. It's just a ball or a strike. It's not an event.
I love that.
And again, especially, there was a time when, like prior to replay, you had to sell things. Like that was back when whether they believed you or not might keep you out of an argument, or not believing you would put you into one. Like if they didn't think you sold it enough, or they sensed you were unsure. That was a part of what we did. I think with the advent and the expansion in improvements in replay, that's kind of like why you like coming out of your shoes to sell something that like they're not gonna, like they're still going to go pick up the phone on a close play,
right?
Whether you like absolutely stepped into gave it the best whacker you've ever given in your career, that's not going to prevent the bench coach from going over and picking up the phone. Exactly. So you might as well not risk throwing your shoulder out,
right? And
just be like, boom. And you want to challenge it. If
Please
not,
yep.
We're moving on.
As someone who has dislocated both shoulders, I'm with you there. So So don't do it. Don't. For the love of God and all that is holy, trust me on this one. The shoulders hurt the most. So
shoulder. Man, I've torn a rotator cuff, and shoulder stuff is no.
I mean, you think about the advent of where we are with like Tommy John stuff. They'll do an elbow any day of the week in their sleep. The shoulder, they're like, Yeah. So,
oh my God, will he ever be back?
Yeah. Yep. You might as well just have Tump come out there and just murder you with a strike three call. So, any updates on your crew for this coming season?
So my crew, I've got Tump back.
Okay.
I've got Brennan back, and they moved Jeremy to a different crew, but I have Ben May instead of. So, I certainly lobbied to try to get the whole crew back.
Right.
But man, if they were gonna take one of my guys away and replace him with anybody, can't replace him with a better guy than Ben May. He's one of my boys, one of my favorites. I've been trying to get him for years.
Right.
I have a running joke with my daughter because she's like, which is funny because Ben isn't just Ben. He's Ben May. Yeah. Right. Like he's not a guy you say, like if you say Ben, I'm like, who? But like he's Ben May.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
I love that.
So my daughter and I have this running joke because she knows I love Ben.
Right.
And so when the cruise came out, I texted her at school and I'm like, hey, guess what? And she's like, what? And I'm like, I just got my crew assignment for the year. And she comes back with in all caps. She's like, is Ben May on your crew this year?
Damn right it is.
And I was like, ding, ding, ding.
And that's how you knew that was your daughter,
That's it.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't need to do the paternity test at that point.
The genes are in there. They're strong in that one.
Ben comes off as, like, when I've seen him work, just one of the most chill guys. Yes. It sounds like you just got, and I have nothing against Jeremy by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like I'm with you in that. You've got a crew where, like, you want to, when you guys are going to be in Philly, I want to come down and buy you around, like that kind of a thing,
No, they're great. I mean, they're great people, and all those Jeremy Clue, like those guys, like they're like resting pulse on the field never gets above like 65.
That's
like they're just kind of like, all right, like we're here to do our thing, you know, like we'll handle it. Like it's okay, like something goofy happens, like we'll handle it.
Yeah,
we'll get through it. We're gonna put four good minds together. And we're gonna work this thing out.
Yep.
And we're gonna explain it to you, and we'll handle it.
Yeah.
So it was like that last year. It's gonna be like that this year.
Yep.
So like I'm very excited. Even that guys out in Arizona, they're like, how did you get the best crew in the league 2 years in a row?
Wow. Yeah. It's the DoorDash, really. It's
you got to know somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got a guy.
I got a guy. Yeah. Yeah. I'm over here jealous that, because when I have to check the blood pressure every morning, it shows you the pulse. I'm like, I haven't seen 65 on a field in years. Jesus. Oh man. There's somebody behind a desk at my health insurance company just looking at this going, oh God, just this isn't, this,
they're probably just assigned to you personally. Like
probably. It would not surprise me. So good thing I only communicate with them via fax. So
fax? What's that?
Yeah. I'm the only one who still has a working fax machine, and that's just for
you're an old soul, Jack. I love it.
Just for love, just for laughs. That's all it is.
You still have the flip phone? You got that going?
No, I did. I've got the iPhone going, but to show you how ridiculously geezer I am, I still have the iPhone with the button on it. Because they got rid of the button, and I'm like, no, I want the button. And then of course I'm
not an iPhone guy. I think the world is prejudiced against Android users. So I'm never leaving. It's a personal thing for me now. I'm never leaving.
That's okay. I mean, I understand your
bubble. I heard that like.
I always knew there were some Costanzian elements about you, so that's fine.
Exactly right.
Serenity. I'm insanity later, but I'm so stupid that I went in, and when I got a new phone recently, and I didn't realize for like the first day and a half that you actually have to take the protective cover off of the phone before you can put it into the case. Otherwise, it's not going to fit.
Details.
Exactly. They trust me to call balls and strikes in high school varsity games, but when it comes to this,
like I said, Jack, if they only knew.
The fact that I can put on pants by myself is, it's amazing.
It's like you're standing out there like they put me in charge of this game. Can you believe that?
They are so stupid. Oh man. I believe if my research is correct, did you have at least a guy or two come up and make their major league debut with your crew this past year?
Great question. I trust your research. Off the top of my head, I can't recall, but
okay.
that vaguely rings a bell. But
I almost feel like Atlanta was one place where it happened, but I can't that I couldn't find.
That's for some reason that sounds like it. That sounds like it could be true.
Okay.
I can't. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm kind of thinking yes, but it's like for the life of me, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly where or who. I can't say for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't about to go through every 162 box scores or whatnot to find that stuff. You could have staffed it out. I really could have. I could have. I get the entire Last Right DoorDash people just say, all right, everyone stop what you're doing. We got to do this. All right. Now, speaking of some of that stuff, as someone who has daughters, we had Jen Powell make her debut.
Yeah.
What was your feeling from afar from seeing that, knowing that ceiling was being broken?
That it was way overdue.
Yeah.
Was super happy for Jen. I don't know her well, but I certainly sent her a nice message after her debut, and it's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a great example. for, like I said, I have daughters, and you saw the highlights of the games, and the people and the young girls in the stands holding signs about, like talking about, being whatever you want to be, or I want to be an umpire.
Yep.
Like that's like those kind of moments are great, and
Yeah.
they're inspiring. And like I'm super happy for her that she was the first one to break through. And looking forward to hopefully having her on my crew at some point.
That's beautiful.
And hoping for the best.
Yeah,
obviously.
we got lucky in spring training last year. We saw her a lot, and we saw one of her plate jobs actually in Lakeland, and I brought my better half. It was a late birthday gift for her because she's a Red Sox fan, and so the Sox were playing the Tigers in Lakeland, and they've got this beautiful new club. Like I think it's called the 32 Club or something like that in Lakeland. It's like it's like the luxury box.
They recently just did a big renovation there. They put a lot of money into it. From what I heard, like it was a big investment,
and it's a fantastic deal for anyone who does spring training like I do. It's like $100 a ticket. The food is completely comped. You're basically just paying for your alcohol. And you get the outside covered seats. You can go inside at any point and whatnot. And so I took Caitlin and for that, and I say, hey, we're going to a Tigers Red Sox game. We're going to do the whole luxury thing. And then she sees Jen walk out to work the plate, and she was in heaven watching this stuff. She's like, I can't. This is so amazing. And now she follows her now. Just to keep track on. I mean, I was the one who infected my own girlfriend into officiating. She's now doing swimming as an official here. And
oh, really?
Yeah. We took. Very cool. We went out to Indianapolis for an officials consortium in Indianapolis a couple of years ago. And I was asked to speak at that, and
nice.
She came with me, and I said to her, like, I think you should be a swimming. Like she swam all through high school, and she still teaches it and whatnot. And I'm just like, you really should do this. And now she's in year 2 of it, and she's already got a sectional game. I think next week. So she's
How many do they need to work a meet? Like
I think it's a minimum of 2.
Okay.
You need a stroke and turn and a ref. I think it is if my research is correct.
So these are above like the people that are just. Are there people timing, or is it all done like through the touch system? Like
it's all done through the touch system. So they're watching like illegal strokes
like
and
starts.
things like exactly false starts. If someone's doing an illegal breaststroke, something like that. Like there's like I tried flipping through their rule book, and I was just like, I spend years going through my rule book. You good luck with all of this. Okay. Just let me know when.
You mean it makes the baseball rule book look easy to follow?
A little bit. It kind of does. And I'm not even like opening the case book and the umpire manual yet. And I'm just looking like, you know what? I'll be, let me know when dinner's ready, hon. It's, not that I'm assuming that
great.
Yeah, not that I'm assuming that she's the one who's always cooking dinner. No, but
Careful. Good job.
Listen, I'm going to anoint myself with the anointing of the sick very soon too. So. Oh man!
How many meets has she done? Like, what's a typical? Like, how many meets does she do?
She got
a couple a week, or what's?
No, well, with her schedule, because she also teaches swimming and she's a lifeguard and all these other things too. And she's
all about the water then. Huh?
Yeah, and she's working a typical 9 to 5 as well. So she's, if she gets 2 to 3 in per week, that's a great week. Cool. So I think if she got about 10 to 12 in this season, I think she would have been more than happy. But I just said it as well as I know it. You're in year 2, you have to stick with it. You're going to go through the sophomore slump. You're going to do this. So it's been fun to mentor her with that a little bit too. And I'm looking forward to watching her continue to grow, because I really think that. In the same way that Jen has broken the ceiling there, yes, there are obviously a good chunk of female officials in swimming and whatnot, but I also think that, like, I can see the good old boys clubs still kind of existing in that realm, and I think that her and some of her colleagues are really going to revolutionize that at some point. I don't know when that is, but I do see some good things ahead.
Feel it building.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as she doesn't kill me before that. So. Well. If she does, it was nice. I got anointed. I'll get to the gates and get through. You know,
I'll get there.
yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Are you by chance are you working the WBC this year?
I'm not.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
No WBC for me. No.
All right.
I like to just kind of work off the winter rust in my spring training games, and I've never done the WBC. It's just kind of not something
cool.
I'm keen on. So yeah, you'll see me in Port St. Lucie or Jupiter or West Palm. So
and we're already planning a trip to come out there in a couple of years too, because the way the schedules are for us, we're going down on the 15th for 2 weeks, but we're staying on the West Coast. And she's like, when are we going to the East Coast and seeing Chris? And I was just like, all right, let's look at the schedule. And we're already looking at like 2028, just because 2027 we're like, please, we just get a collective bargaining agreement for the love of God and all that is holy,
Yeah.
Because if they don't, I know you and I are going to be stuck together for a while,
Well,
so.
sure. Then we'll be fresh out of excuses to not hang out.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to be coming to my games and looking at me like, what's wrong with you?
Here?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it's too early to even begin to look at this, but I'm pulling for you getting the All-Star game this year.
Oh, thanks.
So
I would love to work it. I mean, to say I don't have my eye on that as well, I'd be completely lying to you. Like it's kind of it's been. Gosh,
you were what, Miami?
I worked in 17 in Miami, so this was 9 years now.
Yeah,
which kind of seems like a good time to come back around for another one. Obviously, in the area where I live, so I feel like it's obviously you got to go out and do the job well. But it checks some boxes that I hope are working in my favor.
Yeah.
Along with Al.
I'm hoping the two of you guys get that, and
yeah, it would be great. I mean,
I'm already like, it's not guaranteed, but
it's obviously not up to me. But
right.
like I said, at the end of the day, I'm happy to go where they need me and want me, but I would love to work it.
We're already budgeting for tickets, so we're so you'll have at least one guy in the stands looking at you like, oh, I don't even know what he's doing, but all right.
I'm sure they'll do it up right down there too. I think it'd be a great experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun with the ejections in the most ridiculous way possible. Where you don't speak out of school or anything like that. On Sunday, April 27th, while wearing the plate coat, which you don't do that frequently.
No.
You ran both.
I always throw somebody out wearing a plate coat.
Right. See, so you ran both Kevin Gaussman and John Schneider. And John Schneider, I didn't realize this. I played against him in high school.
Really?
Yeah, he grew up in the town right next to me, right here, and we're about the same age. So I didn't realize that until much later.
I did not either.
Yeah, so it was you nailed all the calls on balls and strikes, which points to the frustration of everything. So my big question is, when you wear the plate coat, do you keep like a banana peel in the inner pocket? Because we saw Kevin Gaussman then fall down the stairs, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know how much Mario Kart you've played in your days, but that's like, to me, as soon as I saw, as soon as I saw that, I was just like, that's just beautiful. That's
interesting. I had in the moment, I had no idea that happened until somebody like made me aware of it in a video later on, that he was, obviously yelling at me going off the field when he got ejected, and then was still taking some shots as he was headed towards the tunnel. And then all of a sudden he's just, vanishes out of sight. I don't wish any physical harm on him at all, but
no,
hey,
but hey, listen, it is what it is. That's a beautiful
We've all
thing.
had a misstep here or there.
Yeah. And I don't. And not only do I not want to get you in trouble with the league for this one, I don't want to get you in trouble with your wife for this one. As I'm watching Schneider come out, is the best way to practice that argument just pretending that your wife is just yelling at you constantly over and over and over again, and just like you're just stonewalling there,
Yeah. Oh, it's my fault. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, there. It's I mean, look, I consider myself a very mild-mannered, laid-back, calm individual.
Right.
99% of the time. I have a little bit of a sarcastic side to me from time to time.
Of course.
So I just, I don't know, I guess you could maybe say it came out there, and I just kind of was playing along like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's my, oh yeah, my fault,
Yep.
it's my fault, okay,
Okay.
you know,
Yep.
like, you know, I kind of just, whatever in that moment, it felt like that was the route to go.
I love it.
And I just sort of went with it. I saw, I saw a few of the videos afterwards, and I was like, well, there's no disguising what I was saying. like what's a,
I read your lips. Yep.
I can't talk my, you know, John Boy's not going to have to work very hard to,
Nope.
you know, like,
Nope. I'm sure they're going to call you and just be like, you know, we don't even need to confirm, you know.
No.
Yeah.
But, you know, I sometimes I don't know what, you know, situation wise, like sometimes I, you know, just you get into them and just something happens, like instinctually, like that leads you to handling it a certain way. Like
Right.
sometimes it's, yeah, some, you know, there are times that I would probably go in certain situations, I would just be stone faced and let a guy rant and rave, you know, like there's times I've said to guys, listen, do you need me to help you solve a problem, or you need me to just listen?
Yeah.
And I just need you to listen. Okay. You know,
I'll send you the invoice later. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. $500 will be, send an invoice.
Yep.
Or
you're going to write it off anyway. So
yeah. Or if you got a problem, I'll help you work through it, but stop yelling so I can understand, because typically the louder you yell, I become a worse listener, you know,
that's
like,
fair.
you know, so yeah, I you know, like I said, so whatever, that just felt like the response that I needed to come with at that moment. And it, you know, it's not a one size fits all, you know, different situations require different responses.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. On a serious side, what is your strategy for refocusing in a situation like that? Because for me, I always feel like it's going to take me a good batter or two to calm down. And like, we were talking about how, some days you just don't even know what you're calling sometimes. Like, that's almost how I feel in that situation. Like, I'm going to go a batter or two now where it's just like, I just pray I'm getting balls and strikes right, because I'm so heated from, even if I was stonewalling, what's your strategy?
I feel like as I've progressed in my career, and certainly in the role of a crew chief, because now really there are seldom things that I'm not stepping in to get involved in at some level. So I don't know if this is going to sound like it makes any sense, but it's almost like when I go in, it's like I've stepped out of myself. Like I've removed any emotion or anything in that moment where I'm just like, I'm doing a job and working a problem. And then when it's worked and it's over, then I'm just going back to what I did before.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know, like the magic bullet, or like the trick to say like, okay, here's how you do it.
Right.
I guess maybe it's probably something that comes with just more time, more experience, and more comfort on the field, where it's like, okay, here I'm calling balls and strikes, and all right, they're over here and they don't like something. All right, I'm going to go through what I need to go through, and then if it results in ejection, I'll deal with the guy, and then when that's over, I'm gonna put that in its box and move it over to the side, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna open the one I just closed.
Right.
And now I'm gonna go back to pitch clock enforcement, balls and strikes, and and just move on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something I definitely kind of noticed myself even being able to do better than I recall just in the last couple of years. And I think it's, helpful that I feel like I still learn every day something new, but feeling more comfortable in that role of the crew chief, being the, ultimately, trusting my guys. I have great guys around me, but also understanding look, ultimately what goes on out here, is my responsibility. And if something happens, like my phone's ringing first,
right,
and I'm the one they're looking for an explanation from. So I think as I've just gotten just more comfortable doing it, and, have some more, get more exposure to different situations, allows me to, as the saying goes, get some more tools in my tool belt,
Right.
For handling those, and then returning to what I was doing prior without feeling sort of like, out of sorts and distracted before a couple batters. Like, okay, now, all right, I got to forget about that and go back to doing, it's just kind of like, all right, I did my job over here and now I'm going to come back. It's almost like it's almost like dispassion.
Yeah.
It's like, like I'm not, okay, like I'm doing a job. You're doing a job. You're yelling. I warned you. Now you're ejected.
Yeah.
Great. You want to yell some more? Okay, great. Now time for you to leave.
Yep.
Now I'm going to come back here, and my job is to call balls and strikes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No,
it's
it
just
does.
like
It does.
kind of how I feel about it.
That's it. Listen, if I can get to that point, I'd be very, very happy too. So
because I will admit there certainly was a time where I feel like the situation you described, like hand up, like that was me. Like you get in a big argument or an ejection, and your heart's thumping, your mouth is dry, you're like, holy cow, the crowd's pissed at you. It's like, now it's just like, all right, I just kind of like, like the old, like for love of the game, clear the mechanism,
Yep. I'm sure it also doesn't hurt to have, like, if you have a catcher, who can, disarm you a little bit at the, like, especially if it's not the guy, if you just ran a manager and it's not his manager, catcher,
right.
You turn around and say, like,
it's like, hey, dude, you got all those right.
Exactly,
you're like, okay, well, all right, you're probably just buttering me up, but like,
right, exactly. Yeah.
But I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. If you switch to margarine at any point, then let me know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. On Friday, June 13th, your crew tossed Aaron Boone and DJ LeMahieu over a foul ball call. The question I have is, should gum tossing be an Olympic sport? And if so, winter or spring?
Probably got to be spring, I would think, because then,
I guess it's summer. I don't even know when the Olympics are. See, it's winter or summer.
It couldn't be the winter, because you wouldn't get maximum distance in the winter.
Okay.
I mean, what if if there's snow on the ground, lands, there's no rollout.
That's fair.
Like it's, that's.
No, look, listen. That's the kind of hard
hitting news. The humidity factor. Like, right? Don't baseballs travel further?
Yeah,
in the summertime than like
the cold of April.
So, yeah, you want optimal conditions to maximize distance.
This is good. This is good. I chewed a piece of gum the other day for the first time, and I started thinking about that, and I was like, this is pretty important to me. So
yeah.
And on,
I'd rather it end up like 50 feet away from me than like
this is fair
coming out in a heated moment onto me. So
like I think didn't Gary Darling have that happen to him with Bobby Valentine?
Gary Darling did have that happen. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He fell out of his mouth. I think it landed on like Bobby Valentine, and I think it was Bobby Valentine. Yeah, that was.
And you could also read Gary's lips too in that moment too. Knew exactly what he was saying as the gum was falling out. So
yes.
That's these are the things that we remember. On Monday, September 1st, you had Brennan eject Marlins second baseman Xavier Edwards 5 pitches into the game. He also had the first ejection of the entire season when he ran Ricky Weeks on March 31st. What is it with you and your crew getting these early ejections things going, especially after you tossing Bob Melvin at the plate conference the year before? Does everybody is it the dinner reservations? Like, do you have the greatest ideas of where to go to dinner? And that's what they're doing.
I don't. I mean, I think I like to think I know some spots. I mean, it's not Phil Cuzzy level, but it's, I mean, but still, those are, all those situations you laid out, those were fairly early. The one, I think I even said, like, he was the leadoff hitter in DC. Yep. And like, I don't know, like I knew he didn't like one of the pit, like a strike, like strike 2 he didn't like, I think. Okay. And then I think he grounded out, and I could see him, looking in Brennan's direction as he's going by towards his dugout.
Right.
But then it looked like, Brennan kind of wasn't really, eyeballing him on the way back, kind of letting him go. So I think I looked somewhere else for a second, and then I looked back out, and Clayton McCullough's out on the field. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so like I'm jogging in, and I'm like, all right, he must obviously ran somebody.
Yeah.
And so like I get there, and I'm like, what's going on here? And like, I just ran, like ran my leadoff hitter. I'm like, we just got out here.
Most of us aren't even awake yet.
What's going on here? Like, this is, but hey, like that. I mean, but it was, 100% justified. I mean,
absolutely.
Brennan, engaged with him at the plate, engaged with him as he's going by. Like, you keep it up over in the dugout. Like, look, at some point you're on a rope.
Exactly.
Like that's like you either can decide to let it go or not, and you're going to get thrown out. Like it's
not rocket science.
Yeah, it's not hard. So, but it was just like, that was So I thought my pregame plate meeting ejection was fast, but which obviously it was, but hey, that's the way it goes. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the first hitter, leadoff hitter, 5 pitches in, it's like, man.
Yeah, that's okay.
I mean, normal circumstances, you don't see many guys decide to go in the first AB, but
I'm just thinking Edwards, had the good dinner reservation,
he might have. It was I guess DC. It was a Labor Day. I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Maybe it was a lunch reservation. Maybe that was the problem, So
hey, what do you never know.
I'm not arguing with these guys. Okay, I know
that's
better.
The thing. We deal with different personalities. You don't know what they're coming to the ballpark with. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. So
makes the job unique.
Amen. So let's end with some humanizing questions that I was just randomly putting together. And I'm thinking, like, I should have asked you some of these years ago. Completely random. What is your favorite kind of music, or your favorite genre of bands?
I think I'm I'll say, so if I'm in the car listening to Sirius, I'll probably have I'll probably toggle between classic rewind, classic vinyl, or 70s and 80s. Those will be my Those will probably. I'm not afraid to sprinkle in some yacht rock.
I was just going to say, is that a yacht rock thing? Yeah.
I mean, you get Sailing by Christopher Cross going, or it's a little hard for me to pass up.
Listen, I just started going down a Michael McDonald and a Hall & Oates vibe, so I totally get it. So,
cool. I mean, I think it's actually. I think it's in the contract of Yacht Rock that Michael McDonald has to be in every song that they play.
It is.
Doesn't necessarily have to be lead vocals, but could be somewhere in the background. Yes. But he inevitably seems like he's on every song. Like the guy's the poster boy for Yacht Rock, pretty much.
He is the Kevin Bacon of music, essentially. Okay, so I'm with you there. I know I asked you the story about the funniest thing that uniformed personnel ever said to you, and you told me the story about the late manager of Pawtucket saying about the truck drivers and whatnot, which I love.
Yeah.
Can you share the funniest thing one of your crewmates has ever said to you during a game?
Man, funniest thing any crewmates ever said to me on the field. I'm drawing a blank. I feel terrible. Yeah, nothing. I mean, I'm sure there have been, but like nothing that's just jumping out at me is like absolutely. I mean, I probably can't tell. I mean, Bill Miller always tells a joke at home plate every game.
Okay.
So, but probably can't repeat them.
Listen, as long as Bill Miller isn't telling the one about the limbo champion walking into a bar, and if he does, you call me right away. I will find Bill Miller.
I will.
Okay.
I will probably say that those are some of the funnier things I've heard on the field. Bill has a vast repertoire of jokes, and he's always like every once in a while in the off season, I'll get a phone call from Bill, and he'll be like, "Hey, what do you think about this one?" Like he's like shoplifting. He's like workshopping his jokes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I worked with him in 2019.
Okay.
So obviously I had a front row seat every day at the field for his jokes. But so those are probably right. Like I said, none of which are probably suitable for this format. But
that's fair.
But yeah. But now that you've asked me, I will. Well, actually. No, I can't repeat that one either. One just popped into my head. It involves Bob Davidson.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily.
That in and of itself is a joke, I think. So, listen, when
we're together in person, I'll share that one with you.
Okay. You've got a couple of months, depending schedule, so we got that one covered. The final question is: if I were to put a salad in front of you next to a dish of fried rice, what are you eating? If not both or neither.
I'm definitely eating the fried rice.
Okay.
Fried rice is going down first.
Okay.
No questions asked. Salad would fall under TBD. Like if I got room, like in the great outdoors, if I get a dessert down and we get throwing some hats for the kids, that's we'll see how things go. But fried rice, good fried rice is hard to. It's right in front of you, hard to pass up.
I'm literally looking at like catering options and thinking like, all right, no matter what we do, there's got to be fried rice, and I'm gonna be telling these stories because you had so many games where you drew Max Fried.
I think every plate job I had with the Yankees, he was the starter.
Right? That was insane.
I'm pretty sure we had. I think over the whole year, I think we saw the Yankees 4 or 5 times, and I'm not lying. I think whenever I had the plate, I drew him as the starter every time.
That's insane.
It was nuts. The only other time it made me think there was one year in spring training when Dan Herron was throwing for the Marlins.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, our schedules were like perfectly lined up with each other. His day to pitch, my day to work the plate, which in spring training is so random because because especially like for our schedule, you're not working the plate every 4 days. It's with off days and things like that. It's not an every 4th day kind of thing. So I think I remember like the 3rd one in a row, they're the home team, and he leaves top of the 1st, out of the dugout to the mound, picks up the ball, looks at me, and it's like, really?
You again? Yeah.
Like I'm like,
sorry,
here I am again.
Hey, buddy.
It's like, but yeah, I would be curious to look, but I think whenever I had the plate this year, I had Fried on the mound.
Yeah.
I think, because I know it was, I mean, I know it was that game where I threw out Schneider and Gosman.
Yep.
Early. I know it was, we had a sock shake series. I worked the getaway day. I know he threw then.
Yep. I remember that one.
We had the Yankees in Texas in August. I know I had him there.
Yep.
And I think it would be maybe just, and I had the plate in when we had them out at the Dodgers at one point. He threw then on the same. Okay. That's 4 for 4.
Wow. That's pretty nuts.
I can't remember a 5th plate job, but
no,
even if it's 4 for 5, that's a lot.
No, the 5th one was when you text me in the middle of the afternoon saying, "Hey, I got replay for the Yankees game," and Fried's going, does this count as a fried rice game?
That's right, I did text.
And I was like, damn right it does.
Maybe I'm thinking of that one.
That's totally what it is. And I'm watching it, I'm like looking, I'm like, Chris, I don't know where Chris is. He must be on replay. I was like, Laz's crew is here. And then I get a text from you and like, oh God, this couldn't be more perfect.
I do remember that now.
That couldn't be more perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna.
That's. I mean, you can't. I mean, the odds on that have to be astronomical. I can't even imagine.
That's beautiful. Yeah. If I ever walk into the umpire room and to see you and the crew, and I'm just bringing a giant thing of fried rice, I imagine that a couple of the guys are going to be looking at me like, "Is there a loony bin around here? Like, what the hell is this?"
I'm gonna have some splaining to do.
Yeah, you are, Lucy. Yeah, you are. So. Well, listen, I've run out of questions because I feel like I as we do these yearly things, I'm going to start asking dumber and dumber things, which
that's
is,
all right.
I love
it. I always enjoy it.
It's beautiful. Yeah. So
yeah, I like to chop it up.
I can't thank you enough for hopping on. I've taken up like 90 minutes of your time, and I really appreciate it. And as a shameless plug for those listening, yes, Chris has been notified that he'll be awarded the Sportsmanship Award this year at our 4th annual celebration. So if you're like me and want to be in the presence of a celebrity as he's eating fried rice, get your tickets as soon as they go on sale for May 31st.
And thank you again for that. I'm really incredibly humbled and honored. And I don't have my schedule yet for the year,
Right.
but I certainly will once I get it, we'll look to do everything humanly possible to move the pieces on the chessboard in a way that I can get there and be there, because I really can't thank you enough.
It's our pleasure. We look at it and say, okay, you've given of yourself to this podcast. You've come out to a trivia night, and then that doesn't even begin to touch what you do with Umps Care and whatnot. And we just had another one on Tuesday night, and you tell the crowd, like, these cats are going into hospitals knowing that the kids that to which they're doing the Build-A-Bears might not walk out of there alive. Yeah. And then they're then they got to go call balls and strikes and get yelled at by 50,000 people, not realizing that what they've been doing in the background. To me, you look at that and I'm just like, it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. So we are honored as well, and
thank you again.
We can't thank you enough. So we're looking forward to it, and hoping that the home office says, yeah, go ahead, and and then maybe they even say, hey, can we get some comp tickets? And I'm looking like, you guys are rich, shut up.
They're typically pretty understanding on stuff. They're usually willing to a pretty large extent willing to work with guys on maybe like bartering some time.
Right.
Like if you give me this weekend here, I'll give you a weekend elsewhere that's during a scheduled time off. And,
right.
They're good about shifting some stuff around when situations arise. So I can't 100% guarantee it, but I'm very optimistic and hopeful that they'll be willing to help me make it happen. So
we have a connection with
and you're gonna be in a tuxedo, I hear, right?
I will be in tuxedo. I will look like James Bond. So I have.
I'll use that as one of my. Hey, Jack's going to be in a tuxedo. I got to be there.
It's a white dinner jacket and everything too. So just pulled right out of Goldfinger.
Can I wear the plate coat?
You know what?
We call it the dinner jacket.
That's what? Now that I know that, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I'll call Dennis and just be like, hey, can I borrow a plate coat for one night? And if not, I'll have some splaining to do. So
yeah, exactly.
And listen, if you need it, we have a very strong connection to Pat Courtney in this house, because he lives in the area, and my mom tutored his daughters a couple of times and whatnot. So I can definitely threaten him, if needed. I don't want to threaten him,
Sure.
but exactly. So I'll make the sacrifice if I have to.
Didn't want to, but exactly. I owed it to them.
Yeah. And I was just going to go off of a riff of being like just I'm going to call Tump and say, hey, those knives that we put into your hands for that? Can I borrow some of those for a threatening thing I'm about to do? As if people didn't look at me crazy enough already. So
somebody up in that area even put that image on like a craft beer in that area. And
Get out, really?
They called it I think they called it the Ripper.
All right, now I'm going to write this down. Ripper.
I don't know if it's still in circulation, but he showed me a picture of it somewhere along the way. I could go back and unearth it, and at least show it to you.
Listen, as a craft beer enthusiast, this is now going to take up way too much time. Okay,
you have a new. As soon as we get off here,
you have no idea. You have no idea. When we leave for Florida in a week and a half, I'm just going to be like, okay, whatever. If it's down here, if it's we've got to find this. We have to find. So.
Well, good luck with your search.
Well, thank you. I'm going to need all of the help that I can get. So, but anyway, I can't thank you enough. This is always a treat for me. This was the first year that I don't recall having butterflies prior to this interview. So apparently you're rubbing off on me. So
good. That's we're
we're finally on those terms. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
you got it. Love it.
Well, again, thank you. Really appreciate it. And
my pleasure, Jack.
Anytime. We love it. We absolutely love it. All of our listeners, thank you. As always, check us out online at osipfoundation.org, podcast at osipfoundation.org, facebook.com/osipfoundation, X and Instagram at osipfoundation, #HowYouPlayTheGame. Talk to everybody in just a few short weeks. And until then, treat each other with respect. How You Play the Game is a production of the OSIP Foundation, Incorporated. The producer-engineer of this episode is Sean Ryan. Music by Soundspring Studio. The executive producer of How You Play the Game is Jack Furlong. For more information, visit osipfoundation.org.